The law of inspired action. Taking steps toward destiny. Ciro Irmici. Copyright 2024 Ciro Irmici. All rights reserved. Understanding the power of inspired action. We all have dreams, those visions that light us up inside and make us believe in something greater for ourselves. Maybe it's launching a business that aligns with your passion, pursuing a creative path you've always loved, or building deeper, more meaningful relationships. Whatever your dream may be, there's a universal truth that stands in the way of all of us. Without action, even the most beautiful dreams remain just that, dreams. But here's the thing, not all action is created equal. In fact, it's not just about taking any action, it's about inspired action. Inspired action comes from a place of alignment, where your inner desires and the universe's flow move together seamlessly. It's the difference between pushing forward with sheer effort and walking a path that feels divinely guided, where each step reveals itself just when you need it. This book is your guide to understanding how the law of inspired action works and how you can use it to create the life you desire. It's about more than just doing. It's about being, listening, and responding to the intuitive nudges that lead you toward your destiny. It's a reminder that you are not alone on this journey. The universe is always working with you, opening doors and guiding you along the way. Your job is to notice the signs, trust your intuition, and take action with intention and purpose. Why inspired action matters. We live in a world that often tells us we need to hustle endlessly to achieve success. While hard work has its place, there's a deeper truth. When your actions are aligned with your true self and your highest purpose, the journey becomes less about struggle and more about flow. Inspired action isn't about forcing things to happen. It's about being in sync with the rhythm of your life, so that your efforts feel natural and supported by something greater. Many people hesitate to take action because they feel overwhelmed or uncertain. They wait for everything to be perfect before they begin. But here's the secret: perfection isn't necessary. The law of inspired action asks you to trust that the first step is enough. Once you take that step, the universe meets you halfway. Opportunities, connections, and resources often appear once you've shown a willingness to act. The connection between thought and action. You may already be familiar with the law of attraction, which teaches that like attracts like, and that we can manifest our desires through focused thoughts and emotions. The law of inspired action complements this idea beautifully. While the law of attraction helps you align mentally and emotionally with what you want, the law of inspired action is the physical expression of those desires. It's not enough to think positive thoughts or set powerful intentions. Those intentions need to be followed by action. However, the kind of action matters. It's not about busy work or chasing goals out of fear or pressure. It's about taking the steps that feel right, the ones that come from a place of excitement, alignment, and trust in the process. What to expect in this book. In the chapters ahead, we'll explore how you can harness the power of inspired action in your life. We'll start by helping you develop the right mindset, one that's open, trusting, and ready to act. Then, we'll dive into how to listen to your intuition, recognize the signs from the universe, and overcome the barriers that hold you back from taking those crucial steps forward. You'll learn how to break free from inertia and procrastination, replacing them with small but meaningful steps that lead you toward your destiny. We'll also explore how to maintain balance and faith, even when the path isn't clear, and how to cultivate a deep sense of trust in yourself and the process. By the end of this book, you will have the tools to not only recognize inspired action but also confidently take those steps toward your goals, knowing that every movement, no matter how small, is guiding you toward the life you're meant to live. Your journey begins now. As you embark on this journey, remember that you don't need to have everything figured out from the start. Trust that the universe has your back, and that the path will unfold as you take action. Be open to the signs, listen to your intuition, and take inspired steps forward. This is your moment to stop waiting, stop hesitating, and start creating. The life you've been dreaming of is within your reach, and it all begins with that first step. So let's walk this path together, and watch how the magic of inspired action transforms your reality. The foundation of inspired action. Before you can start taking inspired action, it's essential to understand what sets it apart from ordinary effort. Inspired action isn't just about doing things for the sake of progress or crossing tasks off a list. It's about moving in alignment with your true self and the flow of the universe. It's an intentional, energized form of action that feels right, even if it doesn't always seem logical or conventional. This chapter will lay the groundwork for understanding the deeper nature of inspired action, so you can recognize it when it arises and trust it as you move toward your goals. What sets inspired action apart? In life, we often confuse busyness with productivity. We fill our days with tasks, routines, and obligations, thinking that constant activity will lead us to success. However, without direction and clarity, much of this effort can feel draining and unfulfilling. Inspired action, on the other hand, comes from a place of purpose and alignment. Imagine the difference between trying to swim upstream in a fast-flowing river and floating with the current. When you're forcing your way forward through sheer effort, every stroke feels hard and progress is slow. But when you align yourself with the flow of the river, you move with ease and grace. That's what inspired action feels like. You're not pushing against the current of life, but instead you're flowing with it. The energy behind inspired action. The energy behind inspired action is different because it's fueled by a sense of knowing. It's that inner feeling when something just clicks, and you feel a strong, sometimes even inexplicable pull to move forward. It's the moment when doubt fades, and you're driven by a sense of certainty, even if it doesn't make logical sense. Inspired action often shows up as a spark of excitement or a flash of clarity. You may feel a sudden urge to make a phone call, start a project, or explore a new opportunity. These moments aren't random. They are signals from your inner self and the universe that you are in alignment. Your job is to trust these feelings and act on them, even if the full picture isn't clear yet. Recognizing the signs of inspired action. One of the most important aspects of inspired action is learning to recognize the signs when they arise. These signs often come in the form of intuition, a gut feeling, or an inner voice guiding you in a certain direction. It may not always be loud or obvious, but it's persistent. Here are a few common ways inspired action might manifest in your life. A sudden idea. You may get a flash of inspiration out of nowhere. It could be an idea for a project, a solution to a problem, or a desire to try something new. These ideas are often accompanied by a sense of excitement or urgency. A strong pull. Sometimes you'll feel a deep inner pull toward a particular action, even if it doesn't make complete sense logically. This pull is a sign that your intuition is aligning with the path you're meant to take. Synchronicities. Pay attention to the moments of coincidence that seem to align perfectly. These synchronicities, like meeting someone who can help with a project you've been thinking about, or stumbling across a book or article that provides exactly the answer you need, are signals from the universe encouraging you to take action. A feeling of peace. When you consider the action you're about to take, do you feel calm, excited, or confident? Inspired action often brings a sense of peace or inner knowing that you're on the right path, even if the journey ahead is uncertain. When inspiration emerges from alignment, true inspired action arises when you are in alignment with your higher self. This means that your thoughts, emotions, and energy are all pointed in the same direction. When you're in alignment, you naturally attract ideas, people, and opportunities that match the energy you're putting out into the world. Think of alignment as the key that unlocks the door to inspiration. When you're living in harmony with your values and goals, you create the space for inspiration to flow. But when you're out of alignment, perhaps you're stuck in negative thinking, or you're pursuing a goal that doesn't truly resonate with your deeper self, taking action feels forced and progress is slow. How to stay aligned? Staying aligned is a continual process. It's not about being perfect or always feeling positive, but rather about regularly checking in with yourself to ensure that your actions are coming from a place of authenticity. Here are a few ways to help you stay aligned with inspired action. Practice mindfulness. By staying present in the moment, you can better hear the quiet nudges of intuition. Mindfulness helps you tune in to how you're feeling and what thoughts or ideas are trying to emerge. Listen to your emotions. Your emotions are powerful indicators of alignment. If you feel excitement, joy, or a sense of peace, it's a good sign that you're on the right track. If you feel resistance, fear, or discomfort, it may mean you need to reassess whether the actions you're taking are truly aligned with your purpose. Trust the process. Inspired action often requires a level of trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your intuition, and trust in the timing of the universe. Even if things don't immediately fall into place, believing in the process helps you stay open to the flow of inspiration. Why inspired action is always the right action. One of the most empowering aspects of the law of inspired action is that it asks you to trust your inner guidance, knowing that it's always leading you in the right direction. Even if an action doesn't produce immediate results, the very act of following inspiration sets a series of events in motion that will eventually lead you to where you need to be. Inspired action rarely follows a straight line. The path might twist and turn, and there will be moments when you second-guess yourself. But remember, the universe responds to movement. Once you take that first inspired step, doors begin to open, opportunities arise, and people show up to support your journey. It's a dance between you and the universe. Each step forward is a step toward your destiny. Recognizing and trusting inspired action. Inspired action is the universe's way of guiding you toward your highest potential. It requires you to listen, trust, and act, even when the path isn't fully clear. The beauty of this law is that it doesn't demand perfection or constant progress. It simply asks that you stay open to the signs, recognize the nudges when they appear, and move forward with faith. As you continue through this book, you'll learn how to strengthen your connection to inspired action, how to take those important steps even when fear arises, and how to maintain alignment in your everyday life. Every action you take with intention brings you closer to the life you're meant to live. Cultivating the mindset for inspired action. Taking inspired action begins in the mind. Before you can step into the flow of inspired action, you need to prepare the ground within yourself. This means cultivating a mindset that's open to intuition, aligned with your desires, and ready to take bold steps when the opportunity arises. In many ways, the hardest part of taking action is not the action itself, but the mental barriers that hold us back. Doubt, fear, and the desire for certainty can cloud our ability to see the opportunities that are right in front of us. Cultivating the right mindset isn't about eliminating these doubts entirely. It's about learning to move forward in spite of them, trusting that the path will unfold as you take each step. The power of clarity. Clarity is essential when it comes to inspired action. It's hard to know what step to take if you're unsure of what you truly want. Many people stay stuck in the same place because they haven't taken the time to connect with their deeper desires. They chase goals that don't resonate with them on a soul level, leading to frustration and burnout. Before you can act, you need to be clear on your intentions. What is it that you truly want to create in your life? Is it aligned with who you are at your core, or are you chasing something that you think you should want? Inspired action is born from authenticity, so the first step is getting clear on what feels right for you. Take time to reflect on your desires. What lights you up? What kind of life would you create if there were no limits or expectations from others? It's not about figuring out every detail. It's about connecting with the core of what feels true for you. Once you have clarity, even in a broad sense, it becomes easier to recognize the actions that will move you toward that vision. Trusting intuition over logic. In a world driven by logic and reason, trusting your intuition can feel like a leap of faith. Our minds often want to analyze every possibility, to map out the entire journey before we take the first step. While logical planning has its place, inspired action comes from a deeper source, your intuition. Intuition is the quiet voice that speaks when your mind is still. It's the feeling in your gut, the sense of knowing that arises even when there's no logical explanation. Inspired action is often sparked by these intuitive moments, and learning to trust them is key to moving forward. But trusting your intuition doesn't mean abandoning logic altogether. It's about learning to balance both, allowing your intuition to guide you in the right direction, and then using your mind to figure out the steps. When you receive an intuitive nudge, it's your job to honor it and take action, even if you can't see the whole path ahead. Consider those moments when you've had a strong gut feeling, whether it was a sudden idea, an urge to call someone, or a pull to explore something new. That was your intuition speaking. The more you practice listening to it and acting on it, the stronger your connection will become. Overcoming fear and doubt. One of the biggest barriers to taking inspired action is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. These feelings can paralyze us, keeping us stuck in inaction. But here's the truth: fear is a natural part of the journey. It's not something to eliminate, but something to understand and move through. When fear arises, it's often a sign that you're stepping outside your comfort zone, which is exactly where growth happens. The key is to recognize that fear doesn't have to stop you. You can take action alongside it. In fact, the most powerful actions often come in moments of uncertainty and fear. Doubt, too, can be a persistent companion on this journey. You might wonder if you're capable, if you're ready, or if you're making the right decision. But doubt is simply a reflection of your mind's need for security. Inspired action asks you to trust in something deeper than doubt, to trust in your intuition, your abilities, and the process of life. Taking the first step, once you've cultivated clarity and learned to trust your intuition, the next step is, quite simply, to begin. The hardest part of any journey is often the first step, and yet it's the most crucial. You don't need to see the entire path in front of you. You just need to take that one step forward. Many people get stuck waiting for the perfect moment to begin, but the perfect moment doesn't exist. There will always be uncertainties, distractions, and reasons to hesitate. But the beauty of inspired action is that it doesn't require everything to be perfect. It simply requires you to act from a place of alignment and trust. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't need to know exactly how the plant will grow, but by planting the seed and nurturing it, you trust that it will eventually flourish. Inspired action works in the same way. Take the first step and trust that the next step will reveal itself in time. Momentum builds confidence. As you begin taking inspired action, you'll notice something remarkable. Each step you take builds momentum. That momentum in turn builds confidence. Suddenly, the path that once seemed so uncertain becomes clearer, and you find yourself moving forward with a sense of purpose. Momentum is a powerful force. It's much easier to continue taking action once you've started. The challenge is often in breaking through that initial resistance. But once you've done so, you'll find that each step feels more natural, and you'll begin to trust the process more deeply. Even small steps can create significant momentum. It's not about making huge leaps, it's about consistently moving forward, one inspired action at a time. Each small action compounds, eventually leading to the breakthroughs and shifts you've been hoping for. A mindset of openness and trust. Cultivating the mindset for inspired action means being open to possibilities, trusting your intuition, and overcoming the fears that hold you back. It's about letting go of the need for certainty and perfection, and stepping into the unknown with faith that the universe will support you. As you move through the process of taking inspired action, remember that the journey is not linear. There will be moments of doubt and hesitation, but these are part of the process. The most important thing is to keep moving forward, trusting that each step you take brings you closer to your true destiny. Tuning into your inner guidance. Inspired action is born from within. It's that subtle, almost whisper-like feeling that nudges you in a particular direction. But in a world full of noise, distractions, and external expectations, how do you tune into your inner guidance to recognize when it's speaking to you? This chapter is about quieting the external clamor, learning to listen to your intuition, and trusting the messages that come from your inner self. The quiet voice of intuition. Intuition often speaks quietly, not with loud fanfare, but with gentle nudges. It's that feeling in your gut, the sudden clarity in your mind, or the sense of knowing without a clear logical reason. Intuition isn't something you think about, it's something you feel. This is the inner guidance that fuels inspired action. However, tuning into your intuition requires stillness. Our lives are often filled with mental chatter, external influences, and a constant barrage of information. This noise can make it difficult to hear your inner voice. Learning to quiet that noise is essential if you want to connect with your intuition and recognize the path of inspired action. One of the most powerful ways to begin tuning into your inner guidance is through mindfulness. When you slow down, breathe, and bring your awareness to the present moment, you create the space for your intuition to emerge. It's in those moments of stillness that the answers you've been seeking often rise to the surface. Learning to listen. Listening to your inner guidance doesn't require special skills, but it does require awareness. Often, we ignore our intuition because we're too busy trying to follow external rules or conform to expectations. We get caught up in what we think we should do, instead of listening to what we truly feel is right. Start by paying attention to the subtle signs that arise in your everyday life. These signs can come in many forms: a gut feeling, a random thought that feels significant, or even external synchronicities that point you in a certain direction. The more you practice noticing these signs, the easier it will become to trust your inner guidance. Consider a time when you've had a strong sense of what to do next, even if you couldn't explain why. Perhaps you felt drawn to call someone, or you felt pulled toward a particular decision that didn't seem logical at the time. That was your intuition speaking. Learning to trust those feelings, even when they don't seem to make sense, is the key to taking inspired action. Cultivating inner stillness in a fast-paced world, inner stillness might feel elusive. But creating moments of calm in your day is essential for tuning into your intuition. This doesn't mean you need to meditate for hours or retreat from the world. Even small practices can make a big difference. Start with just a few minutes of quiet time each day. Whether it's through meditation, deep breathing, or simply sitting in silence, allow yourself the space to reconnect with your inner self. In these moments, you'll begin to notice the subtle feelings and ideas that arise. These are often the first signs of inspired action waiting to be taken. Another way to cultivate stillness is through activities that bring you into a state of flow, where you lose track of time and become fully immersed in what you're doing. This could be anything from painting, writing, or walking in nature. When you're in flow, your mind quiets, and your intuition has the space to emerge more clearly. Trusting the nudges. One of the biggest challenges of tuning into your inner guidance is trusting it once it appears. Our minds often want to overanalyze, second-guess, and rationalize away the subtle nudges we receive. But intuition doesn't operate on logic. It's a deeper knowing that transcends the mind's desire for certainty. It's important to remember that your intuition won't always give you the full picture right away. You may receive a nudge to take a small step, even if you can't yet see where that step will lead. This is where trust comes in. Inspired action is about following the next step that feels right, even if the entire path isn't clear. Think of it as following a trail of breadcrumbs. Each breadcrumb represents a small piece of the puzzle, and as you follow one, the next one becomes visible. You don't need to see the whole journey at once. You just need to trust the step that's in front of you. Recognizing the signs from the universe. In addition to the inner feelings of intuition, the universe often sends external signs to guide us along our path. These signs can show up as synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that feel too perfect to be random. Perhaps you're thinking about a particular idea, and suddenly you meet someone who has the exact information or opportunity you need. Or maybe you're contemplating a decision, and a seemingly unrelated event gives you clarity. These signs are the universe's way of confirming that you're on the right track. The more aligned you are with your inner self, the more often these synchronicities will appear. When you notice them, pay attention. They are invitations to take inspired action. For example, you might be considering a new project, but you're unsure whether it's the right direction. Then, seemingly out of the blue, you come across an article, a book, or a conversation that relates directly to your idea. These moments aren't just coincidences, they're signals that the universe is aligning to support your next step. The role of feelings in inspired action. One of the most reliable indicators of inspired action is how it feels. When you're in alignment with your inner guidance, actions feel exciting, light, or peaceful. There may still be uncertainty or fear, but underneath that, there's a sense of rightness. Pay attention to these feelings, they are your compass. Conversely, if an action feels forced, heavy, or filled with resistance, it may not be the right path for you. This doesn't mean you should avoid all discomfort. Sometimes growth requires stepping outside your comfort zone. But it's important to distinguish between the fear of growth and the resistance that arises when something is truly out of alignment. When you act from a place of inspired guidance, you often feel a deep sense of peace, even if the external circumstances are uncertain. This peace comes from knowing that you're following a path that's true to you, rather than trying to fit into someone else's expectations. Strengthening your connection to inner guidance. The more you listen to and trust your inner guidance, the stronger that connection will become. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you use it, the more natural it feels. Over time, you'll find that you can tune into your intuition more easily and recognize inspired action with greater clarity. One powerful way to strengthen this connection is through journaling. When you write down your thoughts, feelings, and intuitive nudges, you create a space for reflection. Journaling allows you to track the patterns of your inner guidance and see how they've led you to take inspired actions in the past. Over time, this practice builds trust in your ability to recognize and act on your intuition. You can also strengthen your connection by asking yourself open-ended questions. What do I feel called to do next? What action feels exciting or meaningful right now? By asking these questions, you invite your inner guidance to speak, and you create space for inspiration to emerge. Acting on your inner knowing. Tuning into your inner guidance is about cultivating stillness, listening to your intuition, and trusting the subtle nudges that arise. It's a process that requires both patience and practice, but the rewards are profound. The more you trust your intuition, the more clearly you'll be able to recognize inspired action when it calls.